We're live.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone, to this public meeting. The applicant is the estate of Edward David Smith and the estate of Teresa Jones Smith. Karen and Jeff Smith are the beneficial owners. Being 5:15 p.m., this meeting held by council to consider the closing of a portion of an unopened road allowance in accordance with Section 34 of the Municipal Act is now called to order. Could I get an approval and adoption of the public meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2025, please? I'll get a moved by Brent, second by John. Were there any errors or omissions? I see none. All in favor? Thank you. Members are to state any pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof before items are discussed. Are there any declarations this afternoon? I see none. The public meeting is to stop, close, and declare surplus to the municipality's needs and to sell all or part of the following. Part of the road allowance fronting lot 7 and 8, Sebastopol Range C North, in the geographic township of Sebastopol, now in the township of Bonnechere Valley. Would the clerk please report on circulation of notice?
The notice of the public meeting appeared in the June 11, 2025 edition of the Eagleville Leader. On June 11, 2025, the notice was circulated to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property. It was sent on June 11, 2025 to the appropriate agencies. The notice of the meeting was also posted on the township's website.
Thank you. Would the clerk please report on any written comments received?
The township received the following comments. Hello, Erica. Referring to the notice public meeting, Township of Bonnechere Valley for July 15th, here are my expressions of this proposal. First of all, I firmly oppose the township to sell any of this road allowance corridor behind my backyard on 25 Madawaska Crescent. Reasons are: 1, there must be a safety buffer zone in order to prevent any possible future wildfires for a safety precaution. 2, a permanent corridor is necessary for any unexpected future utility use, such as a new hydro right-of-way across or any other infrastructure use. 3, the worst threat to sell this road allowance corridor is that my property listed as lot 25 will have the easiest access from Madawaska Crescent compared with the other 5 lots, since I have a gentle hill to access to the new buyer. One of my reasons I brought this property in 2011 because it has good privacy with no one beyond my backyard. My property.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to speak.
Yeah, sorry. My property value will decline with this less privacy. Number 5, the road allowance corridor is not suitable for any agriculture use due to hard solid foundations resulting of the former Opeongo Road corridor when it was once the prime road from Highway 41 just north of Dacre. Number 6, if the road allowance is sold and the new owner want to build an easier access to buy out my property, and since it will be extremely difficult for me to find another permanent home property identical to the existing one I live in, any identical affordable price. Then if the owner is desperately want to buy it, then it must be sold privately at an excessive high cost, like 3 times more from the current $300,000 value, in order for me to afford to live elsewhere comfortably in Canada. Number 7, the township desperately wants to sell this corridor to the new buyer. Then one last resort option, if I could be able to purchase a possible severed portion of the allowance to extend my backyard property west of the existing lot 25 and lot 27 dividing line. And it must be sold at a reasonably low price if affordable to buy. However, my main purpose is to leave the road allowance as it is for any unexpected occurrences as mentioned on my comments. Also, my urban cities in Western Canada do have these designated permanent road allowance corridors for certain protection between properties on their backyards. I would be looking forward for the township to sincerely recognize these comments to ensure I can live here without any interference in the coming years. Thank you for reading my comments and look forward to attend that meeting on Tuesday, July 15th at 5:15. Submitted by Andrew R. Craig, 25 Madawaska Crescent, Foyma, Ontario, K0J1W0. I also received a comment from Hydro One. Good morning, Erica. In response to your letter regarding the closing of the original road allowance for the subject property, Hydro One Networks Incorporated does have plant. We will require an easement, as shown on the technician drawing attached to protect our interests prior to the road closure and sale. The easement will need to be 5 meters on either side on the pole line and include the existing pole. Barcode CRLALV. Please forward a draft survey to us that defines Hydro One's easement requirement. Once we approve the draft survey, and we are in receipt of the deposited survey, we will then forward this matter to our solicitors, Barriston Law, to coordinate registration of the easement. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the prospective sale of the above noted unopened road allowance. Should you require any further, please do not hesitate to contact. Kind regards, Caitlin Walter, Real Estate Associate, Low Voltage Rights, Hydro One Networks Incorporated. That's it.
And then the late breaking news we received.
Yes, and also I received a letter from Kevin Jessup. To whom it may concern, we are interested in purchasing the land behind our property at 31A Madawaska Crescent, Foymount. Signs Kevin Jessup, Heidi Jessup, McDonald. To whom it may concern, I am interested in purchasing the land behind my property at 31B Madawaska Crescent, Foymount. Melita Jessup.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to speak to the closure and sale of the surplus land?
For the applicant.
Yeah.
Speak now.
Hang on,
Sure.
you're coming up. Does the owner or agent for the property wish to speak to the closure and sale of the surplus road allowance?
Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Okay. So,
actually, okay,
We'll just wait.
yeah, we'll just, hang on, Sheldon.
do I stay here?
You can stand, whatever works for you.
Oh,
Okay. Thank you, John. All right, Mr. Reiki, now you can proceed.
Good turnout for a road allowance closure. So at the outset, I represent the Smiths, and I just really want to say, we really just want legal access to this property. That's the reason for this request. It once had access before, you can tell on the title, and the road where it used to exist is now part of a subdivision. And it looks like it was given away to the developer or sold, and that happened in the 70s. Things happened then that don't happen now.
Correct.
Now we're trying to fix the problem. So to fix that problem now, we need two components. One is an easement over private property, and we need deeded access across this road allowance. So, council might recall, this was first kind of brought up in December 2022, which was some time ago, so you may not recall. And at that time, there was, I believe, some circulation to abutting owners, and certain ones came forward and expressed interest. Some did not. And the Smiths are under the impression that council would at least entertain the conveyance of part of the road allowance for access. So since then, we've had to work on the other component, which was the deeded access over private property. And that requires consent from the county of Renfrew. And that's now been obtained, and it takes some time to obtain that. It took a few years, so longer than what we expected. So now we're back here, and we've had the public meeting, and notice has been circulated again. And we'd like for council to convey us at least a portion of the road allowance to allow for access. In terms of the public comments, we don't, we've had one property owner speak to the piece behind his property. We're fine, we don't need that. We really just need a 20 to 40 foot wide section, which lines up to the deeded access portion to allow us for access. In terms of Hydro's comments, you can speak to your own solicitor about this, but you don't need to do what Hydro says. And from our perspective, it doesn't interfere with us. We just don't want it to complicate it too much when we're in a position to pay for, the easement for Hydro in terms of survey costs and stuff. So from our perspective, we just want something simple, and that's a conveyance to allow us for access to the property from the deeded portion that's going to be across the private property. And if there's going to be too much complication with it, like conditions on it, we'll probably be back here again and probably ask for an easement. And in terms of what we would like, we prefer it to be deeded. In fact, we asked for it to be deeded to restore it to what it kind of was before, back in the 1970s. There's been some discussion, I believe, about crossing agreements with municipalities. but that's not permanent. We prefer permanent deeded access, and potentially, if the township doesn't wish to convey the portion to us, we would entertain the easement as well, which would also solve the problem.
Okay, so we can't talk about an easement today. That is not on the docket.
I'm aware of that, but I wish to make council aware. that
Okay,
it's
just-
Conditions with it, we'll probably be coming back to ask for them.
I just don't want to muddy the waters with something additional that is not part of this public meeting. And we actually are not allowed to discuss it because it isn't. So I want to stay on point here. What I am going to do before I turn, are your comments done, Mr. Ranky?
Yes, subject to questions from council.
Okay, so before we go any further, because it got a bit confusing over the last 24 hours, I am going to ask our CAO to speak to this issue so that council understands what has sort of gone on over the last day or two. If you don't mind in that.
Sure, so. Listening to Sheldon's comments, so deeded permanent access is what you would like, which is what we're discussing at this meeting. I think I hear you when you're saying you only need a portion of it. The issue is that this is sort of like it's at the end of a road allowance, and so, you know, if we only close this small portion, even if we look at you know, the Jessups that would like to purchase a portion, we look at was it Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was saying, you know, he'd be interested in his portion, which I think is great, because if everyone is sharing in costs of survey and and everyone gets their piece of property, then that's fantastic. But when it first came to council, you know, to only close, as you were saying, a small portion, what that would do is that would abandon sort of the end of that road allowance, and it would just be sitting there. No one, you know, no one can have access now because we've sold off these chunks, but this is just kind of sitting there. So, you know, not in the best interest of the residents who, you know, we're declaring the surplus, we're never going to open it back up, and that's, you know, because we can't. We've now sold chunks in the middle of it. But my understanding is, yes, deeded permanent access is what you're looking for. Council has agreed in principle to close this entire section, regardless of who would like to purchase which section. So if all the, and that's, I think, what we were hoping for back in 2022, was that the residents that were interested would get together, you know, split the survey costs, split the legal costs, and everybody would get their piece of the road allowance. So, but I understand what you're saying. You know, we have written interest here today from you know, 4 different people, 3 different properties. Hopefully that can happen and not be more complicated. And if it is, and as you know, when we took this to council, that was sort of what we said was, so if these interested parties decide partway through that they're not interested in there, even though they've declared we're interested, as survey costs and things come in, if those parties decide, you know what, we thought we were interested, but now we're not, then council is prepared to transfer the entire parcel to the Smiths who put in the original request. But you know, the goal is that everybody gets the piece that they want, that's abutting their property, and shares the cost. I think that works out great for everybody. But if that doesn't work out, and the entire piece has to be closed, and the only person who's left that is interested is the Smiths, then you know, that sort of is how we left it, so that it didn't get dropped like in 2022. In 2022, we said, well, we close and give it to these individuals. So now we're saying we're going to close it, we're going to sell it, and it's up to the property owners to then, you know, get the survey done and say, yes, I'm going to sign this, I want this section. Yes, I'm going to sign this, I want this section, and pay their portion of the fees according to the piece of property that they're getting. So, but I do hear you, if it does get overly complicated, that at the end of the day, if council approves the closure and the sale, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's not going to be on the township's part that it doesn't happen, but if, you know, if the adjacent property owners don't provide a survey and don't move forward with the registration, like I said, we're willing to sign on the dotted line and move forward with that. But if not, then, yes, you're welcome to come back and ask for a different option, you know.
And maybe not in 3 years.
Maybe not in 3 years. So I think that's all hopefully I answered,
No, I
any
truly
of
appreciate
their
it.
complications
Yeah.
towards that, but
Yeah, I truly appreciate that, and I think that council needed to sort of understand the skinny and why we're getting these lovely notes from the Jessup saying that, yes, they would like their portion as well. Are there any questions or comments from council?
So there's a third property owner that we haven't identified that is adjacent to the strip of land you're talking about.
No, all four we've heard from.
yeah, so
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
there's Mr. Craig.
Oh, you
and
said
there's-
4 owners, 3 properties?
Yes, 3 owners,
So,
yeah,
okay.
Yes.
who's come forward, yeah.
So I think going forward, yeah, in principle, I think this council is all right with this if it's the whole road allowance. Do we want the landowners to sign an agreement before they go off and get a survey? And that,
Well, no, I think if at this public meeting, council is prepared to declare surplus and close that section, having heard the comments
Yeah.
forward, then, it goes back to the residents.
yeah,
To get the survey, however you do, if you get it in 1 part, if you get it in 4 parts, if you, however that works out and, agree to that payment. And, if, like I said, if at the end of the day, there's one property owner that gets the survey, pays for the survey, and nobody else seems to step forward, then we're prepared to give that, not give, but
No, no.
sell that entire portion to one individual. Just as long as everyone understands that that's here, and if there's other individuals who are willing to pay their share and have their portion, then that's great. Then it just means more legal work to be signed and to be done. But council's prepared to do either which way, so as not to complicate it, because I understand your access issue. I understand the other property owners don't have the same access issue. You're trying to fix an issue, so I don't think it's fair you've asked the question, can you buy it? Council has said yes, but only if you buy the entire end piece. So, because that makes sense from the township's perspective. But, you need some assurance that if you go ahead and order a survey and you go ahead and you're ready to purchase this, if these property owners are on board, that's great. But if they jump ship, for lack of a better word, at the last minute, that you understand this is still going forward. It's just all going to go to you because these property owners have then decided not to purchase their portion. But, I feel
One
like,
of them doesn't want.
yes,
What
yeah,
if one of them doesn't
then
want?
that's fine. Then that person will not receive their portion and the others can go forward. So when this-
So it isn't all contingent on if one person decides they don't want their portion.
that's right.
We can still move.
That's right,
forward.
and that's what we didn't do. So in 2022, what we said was, this portion will go to this person, and this
Yep.
portion will go to this portion, and that's what was approved. And so what happened when those people didn't fulfill what came forward, it put us at a standstill, because even if you said, well, if they don't want their portion, like I'm willing to take this whole thing, because I'm the one who wants access. Then we didn't have that choice, because that's not the public meeting we had. We had a public meeting saying we were gonna give all these pieces. This public meeting is saying we're closing this section. If you're interested, which people have come forward. Now, if you haven't come forward today, if there's people out there who haven't come forward, there's still time. But once the survey is done and it's done in the parts, those are the parts that will transfer to the different property owners. And if somebody missed out, then they're gonna have to pay to survey their own little portion. Like, and it's not that council won't transfer it to that person, because that's what we've said, is we're gonna close this and we're gonna transfer it to the adjacent property owners who have it surveyed, have paid for it and want it. But if one of them drops out and 3 of them stay in, then those are the 3 that are going to get it. And that's why we went through this process again, because I want to be clear that we're declaring it surplus, we're ready to sell it, but it's whoever pays for the survey, whoever gets the survey, whoever goes forward with this is going to get their piece. And whoever says, well, I thought I wanted it, but now I don't, that's okay. But it's still good, your portion is still going to get sold, it's just going to get sold to somebody else.
Okay.
So that it doesn't, it's complicated, but it can move forward if people are not willing to work together. It's going to move forward to give you access is where we're at. And if, you know, if
I still think this
Yeah.
is easier than trying to come back and do an easement and going through this process
Mhm,
all over again with the county. Yeah.
mhm.
All right, are there any, now that Annette has spoken, are there any other questions from council? I see. No. Nope,
No comment. Oh,
sorry,
you're leaving to us basically to organize this,
yes,
okay. Okay, at some point, we need a commitment though. Like
No,
in terms of, like, if we go get, I'm just thinking about it, like, if some property owner doesn't come forward, and then they come over forward last minute. Like,
well,
what do we?
that's got
Well,
nothing
but
to
that-
do with
but
us.
That's not.
but that's what I'm saying is we've agreed
Yeah.
to declare this surplus and sell this piece of property. If
That-
if you go ahead and get it if the Smiths go ahead and get it surveyed. Say this part is surveyed, if the Jessups, I'm just using names because I have them. If the Jessups say, yeah, we're in, and they pay for their portion of the survey and they get theirs, and then another person comes forward, it's too late now. The survey's already been done, the survey's already been registered. They are now responsible for getting their own survey, and if they don't get their own survey done, and we're ready to transfer the property, then they're gonna have to go through a severance for you because you're gonna end up being the one that purchased it and owned it because they didn't. Because that's what we've agreed to today.
So
Yeah, and
now,
we can't, I'm sorry, public meetings are not a debate and everybody's, I'm sorry, sir. You had your chance to speak during one of these questions and I have to keep this on point. This is a legal meeting and I have to make sure that council and our staff are on the right side of this, so I apologize. This therefore completes the public meeting process. Council will consider the arguments for and or against the sale of the road allowance requested for this property. The bylaw will be brought forward to council for consideration and passing at a further meeting. Any person wishing to receive written notice of the sale of the road allowance being considered at this meeting must leave their name and mailing address with the township clerk in writing. And I declare this public meeting oh, no, I'm not. Oh, yeah, this one. It's fine.
This one, yeah.
We're trying something new tonight at 5:37 PM. Normally, we close off a meeting, then we open it up, but we've decided that we're gonna try something different. All right, so our further public meeting. The applicant is Jason Bouchard. Thank you, everybody. The applicant is Jason Bouchard, being 5:37 PM. This meeting held by council to consider the closing of a portion of an unopened road allowance in accordance with section 34 of the Municipal Act is now called to order. Members are to state any pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof before items are discussed. Are there any declarations? I see none. The public meeting is to stop up and close and declare surplus to the municipality's needs and to sell all or part of the following part of the road allowance fronting 641 Rosine Road, Sebastopol Concession 7, Lot 12, RP 4911-9331, Part 3, in the geographic township of Sebastopol, now in the township of Bonnechere Valley. Would the clerk please report on the circulation of notice?
Okay, the notice of public meeting appeared in the June 11, 2025 edition of the Eagle Leader on June 11, 2025. The notice was circulated to all property owners within 120 meters of the property. It was sent on June 11, 2025 to the appropriate agencies. The notice of the meeting was also posted on the township website.
Thank you. Would the clerk please report on any written comments received?
There was none.
Excellent. Do any members of the public wish to speak to the closure and sale of the surplus land? Does the owner or agent for the property wish to speak to the closure of the surplus land? Road allowance, sorry. Are there any comments or questions from council? I see none. This therefore completes the public meeting process. Council will consider the arguments for and or against the sale of the road allowance requested for this property. The bylaw will be brought forward to council for consideration and passing at the next meeting. Any person wishing to receive written notice of the sale of the road allowance being considered at this meeting must leave their name and mailing address with the township clerk in writing. I declare this public meeting closed and adjourned at 5:39 PM.